here's what I think is going on in the world. I think the wealth creation model that's spat out by most people who have any relationship to finance and wealth talk to us about, but I think it's flawed. And the reason I think it's flawed is I think the numbers in Australia are completely out of whack. As you said, I think the cost to get into property is ridiculous relative to earnings. And even if you had the money to go out and buy like $1 million property, the amount of income that property will actually generate for you is next to zero. I mean, it's very little. Like, I could have a 2-bedroom eastern suburbs unit. I might own it outright. It might have cost me $1 million. After I take out my expenses, I might, at best, get about 1% to 2% in terms of my cash flow off that asset. And I don't know about you, but I look at it, if I had $1 million and I'm getting 2%, I'd be saying that's pretty shithouse. I wouldn't want to do that. I feel like the industry around wealth is selling us the same sack of shit that they always have, which is just buy, it'll be all right in the end, you know. Eventually prices will go up and eventually you'll bridge that gap and you'll have enough money in retirement. To make it matters worse, for those of us who are entrepreneurial or have an interest in wealth, the banks and government are playing with the system and tinkering with it right now in a way that they haven't ever done before. And they're trying to sew up every little loophole that gives us any freedom or flexibility to go about creating wealth. And ultimately what happens to most people is there's a kind of like an apathy of like, what's the point? Like, my wings are clipped, I'm going to work my butt off, but I'm not going to make it to where I want anyway. But here's what I want to share with you guys. There are opportunities out there where the numbers are super compelling, like they are sexy and exciting. And if you're looking in the right place, they're the sorts of projects, investments-wise, you should be looking for. What you want is a fresh paradigm. So the one that we're sold right now, it just isn't working. And that's why my own personal passion is about how do we step outside the current paradigm, because the one that even I adopted for the first few years of my investment journey, it just didn't give me much juice. And the other thing is we want to put ourselves in a position where we look at what the government are doing and we look at what the banks are doing and we hear about all that and it's kind of amusing, but it doesn't affect us. And that's the situation that we want to be in. Like, I don't know if any of you are tuning into Labor are talking about coming in and getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff, which will make things even worse for people who have a whole lot of property. And, you know, I'm kind of just looking at that going, oh, that's sort of interesting, but, you know, I feel for people who are going to be really hurt by those sorts of reforms. Because ultimately, what I want and what I think most people want is they want a high degree of control about the outcomes with the money that they invest.